We're back with In the Trenches with Doug Skene talking about the Michigan-Indiana game, and certainly a lot of exciting plays and some not so exciting plays for Michigan fans. And here we start off 10:56 first quarter. A Indiana player jumps off sides. Jake Rudock takes advantage by throwing a deep ball, and for the first time all year, they connect on the deep ball.
Well, you know what's interesting about this play, Spath, is the center, Glasgow. I'm wondering, did he snap the ball on Rudock's cadence, or did he snap the ball as soon as he saw that guy was in the neutral zone? Steve Everett used to do that all the time. No matter what the snap count was, when a guy jumps into the neutral zone, he would tell Gerback, I'm snapping the ball whether you're ready or not, because we're going to get a free 5-yard penalty or a free play on this. So when this ball was snapped, I thought, man, this is a freebie, and that looked like the old days of Everett doing that. And then, of course, pass protection was good. We set the pocket nice in the middle, and Rudock delivers a great ball. We finally connect on the deep ball, a great catch into the sun, and we're off to a good start here.
Doug, just a few minutes later, 10:40 of the first quarter, and we saw this repeatedly with Indiana just absolutely gutting Michigan's defense. What happens on this play?
Well, to start off, the formation-wise, they're in a 2-by-2 spread look. Michigan shows up in an odd front with Strobel at the nose, Goat and Charlton as your defensive linemen. Bolden at the top of the screen has walked outside the box almost. He's outside the defensive end's hip. And so I don't know if Indiana checks to it or if this is a design run. Doesn't matter. They just zone block to the right here. The nose guard, Strobel, gets hooked by the left guard as the center slides right. The offensive tackle and right guard do a nice job of creating a scene there, and then our linebackers get caught in the wash. Now, the bad news here is that we've got to look at a tackle back here near the line of scrimmage. Morgan misses the tackle, and Godin's a little slow down the line. He's unblocked, so you have to give credit to the Indiana offensive line for blocking this thing front side. It was 3-on-3. They blocked it well. But we've got to have better backside pursuit, and we've got to make a tackle when we have a window to do so.
5:05 of the first quarter, and another very positive offensive play for Indiana. The culprit here being some missed tackles by Michigan.
Well, I've said it now coming up about a month. We as a defense, I don't feel like we've been as effective tackling as we were a month ago. This is a play that's going to show some evidence of that. To start off, our defensive end, Wormley at the top, has taxed the C gap. Now we've got a problem with who's got contained. And so when we have an outside linebacker scrape over and set the edge, Wilson there sets the edge to cause it to come back inside. Somebody's got to be there to make a tackle. Wormley's just getting blocked over here. Hurst is getting severely held, but you're not going to get that call, so there's no sense crying about it. But what's irritating about this play is when the contact is made over here around the 18-yard line, and we've got a shot at a tackle, the ball carrier doesn't go down until he gets out to about the 25, 26-yard line, and that's a problem. And when you've got a defender or a group of defenders that can't tackle one guy inside of 5 yards, he's grinding out extra effort yards, and that adds up. And so that was the most disappointing thing, is on this play particularly, the lack of effective tackling.
Doug, about 13:59 to go in the second quarter. Michigan is backed up inside their own 5-yard line, a 2nd and 29. And I got to say, this was my pick as the best pass that Jake Rudock makes all day.
Well, it's impressive for a couple things. But before we get to Rudock, pay attention to the interior of the offensive line here. Indiana is not going to blitz anybody, but they are going to run an interior twist. And Kyle Kalis, the right guard, does a really nice job of passing off the first guy. And the rule is always, when something passes your face, you pass it off. And when something crosses your face, something's always going to come back. And he's in position when the looper comes around to pick it up and block it. The tackles are doing a nice job setting the edge. But the pocket does get a little bit of pressure here, starts to collapse, which it always is going to do. But then you see the progression of the quarterback. His eyes stay downfield. He steps up into that pocket and delivers a powerful throw to make the completion. That is an impressive play by this quarterback who continues to get better.
Doug, 11:30 to go in the second quarter, and Jim Harbaugh has drawn up, and his offensive coordinators have drawn up some incredible plays this year that you and I have, throughout the first 10 weeks, have commented on. And here's one that looks great probably on paper, and it almost worked, but instead it fails miserably.
Drevno and Harbaugh and those guys fooled everybody except the wily stand-up defensive end or outside linebacker at the top of the formation. He smells a rat when everybody's rushing toward that quarterback, and he spins around to cover the receiver. And you got to give credit to the kid for figuring that thing out. There's nothing Glasgow can do here. The kid made a great play against a design play that almost fooled them all. But the other thing that needs to be noted here is at the end of this play, the interior of that offensive line is going to block the other linebacker that's standing there, number 44. And I tell you what, even if we do make that first defender avoid, I'm not sure we get the second one blocked. So, sometimes you draw things up on paper and they look outstanding and they look like they're going to work, and you get in the game there, and all of a sudden one smart outside linebacker screws the whole thing up, and it's the gimmick play didn't work.
6:10 to go in the second quarter in a play that initially gets blown up. Michigan's offensive line on the front side doesn't do a great job, but the backside does a good enough job that Davion Smith's able to make something out of it.
It's a simple ISO out of a heavy tight end, right? You got two tight ends at the bottom of the formation. Left tackle is going to try to block that defensive end. Center and left guard here are going to attempt to combo block nose guard to Mike linebacker, number 2. The right guard and right tackle are going to combo block to the backside linebacker. It looks like number 44. And then back here at the bottom of the screen, you're going to have a backside fold block where you're going to take Williams, attack the end, and then fold Hill in behind to come attack whoever shows up in that backside C gap. The breakdown happens at the left guard and center position. Number 2 scrapes over the top. That's got to be the left guard's block. When that combo block is established, remember, you always got to block the down lineman first. But that linebacker has a choice to make. He either goes over the top or he comes underneath of his down lineman buddy there. When he goes over the top, that's the left guard's block. So he comes in to make the play. Fortunately, it misses. Smith makes a nice move, an athletic move, and spins it back outside. And this is where the backside blocks are just as important as the front side blocks, because Magnuson and Hill seal this thing backside and allow the crease to happen.
Doug, second half, 14-15 in the third quarter. Michigan facing a 3rd and 18, which is not a friendly down. But the offensive line still could have blocked the 4 men, and instead they gave up a sack.
Well, everybody in the stadium knows it's pass, so the offensive line noticed as well. It's critical as an offensive lineman that you take the proper pass set here, especially against twisting and game-playing defensive linemen. And what happens in the interior here, the defensive tackle is going to cross the center's Glasgow's face, and he's aiming for the hip of the left guard to knock that block off. And the left guard here, Braden, gets caught in a moment here staring in the eyeballs at his defensive tackle. And when that defensive tackle sticks his foot in the ground and starts to loop to his left, which will be Braden's right, Braden has got to immediately sink his right hip, get his leg back, because something's coming. The old rule again, if something goes away, something's always going to come your way. And so Braden gets a little bit out of position here, but also at the bottom of the screen, you'll notice that the defensive end, number 56, who's expected probably in Magnuson's mind to be the contained guy, takes a B-gap rush. He's set way outside of Magnuson pre-snap here, but when the ball is hiked, he flies into the B-gap, and Magnuson goes out there to set it wide, as he should, but gets caught a little oversetting. But the serious breakdown here is in the interior of the line with the left guard. 6:56
of the third quarter, a toss sweep. Michigan actually has enough blockers out there. Indiana does a nice job blowing this play up, but if they had a running back that was named Ezekiel Elliott, I think this would have gone a very long way.
Well, we don't have Ezekiel Elliott. We got Smith back here, and he's pretty good too, Spaz. So don't be so doggone tough on the kid. He's a good runner. But here's the problem, and let's give Indiana some credit. When Chesson comes down to crack block the edge of this front, the corner comes upfield to set the edge, and when he sees big Mason Cole coming his way, he does what every defensive back does, which is torpedo and just cause a dog pile, which sets the edge. And then Glasgow's coming around for the middle linebacker. The middle linebacker basically does the same thing, gets underneath Glasgow. Now you got Cole and Glasgow and 2 defenders on the ground in front of Smith. Smith has to slow down to try to cut this thing up inside, but Indiana does exactly what they're coached to do. Set the front side edge, let backside pursuit make the tackle. But these guys are playing hard, so I'm going to issue credit to Indiana on this one, and just a well-designed defensive stop here.
Doug, here we are at the end of the fourth quarter. Michigan needing a touchdown to tie the game and to send it into overtime, and they step up. Jake Rudock makes another great throw, and J.U. Chesson comes down with it.
What happens here is the front side linebacker, number 8, the inside linebacker for Indiana, blitzes. And many times at the higher levels of football, when your slot receiver sees a front side blitz, he's told to run a hot route. Now, I think he's running a little slant. Either way, Indiana blitzing number 8 helps the cause here immensely because now there's a bubble in the defense right there. Chesson just goes shallow, gives himself some space to get beyond the goal line, and Rudock makes a nice little play here as he's got a defender crashing down in his face. This is by the narrowest of margins, but it's well executed, and if it's a hot read and a hot throw, that's a great, great job by those 2.
Doug, first play of overtime, a 16-yard gain by Jordan Howard, and this is just more of the same that we saw throughout the game. It's not even the missed tackles, the fact that nobody is touching Howard until he's 10, 11, 12 yards downfield.
Well, the problems start on the front edge of your defense here. Taco Charlton is playing our right defensive end, and he is aligned a full body removed from the left tackle of Indiana, and yet still he manages somehow to get hooked. The Indiana left tackle position blocks him, and I'm almost positive here that Charlton's the one who's set with contain, but he loses contain pretty quickly. The ball carrier gets to the edge and squares himself upfield. Willie Henry's not fast enough to run this guy down from the backside. But then the problem gets compounded when we got Wilson standing there flat-footed waiting to get ran over instead of peppering his feet moving forward. Now, I understand that defenders and especially safeties, they're the last line of defense, right? They got to make the tackle, but there is a way to pepper your feet and move forward and drive through a tackle instead of being ran over flat-footed. And the old saying about the hammer and the nail, no one wants to be the nail, and unfortunately on this play, Wilson is the nail getting ran over.
Doug, the final play of In the Trenches this week, Michigan to Indiana, is the final play of the game. A 4th and 2 from the Michigan 2-yard line, and Indiana pulls its best Super Bowl Seattle Seahawks, where they don't go with the obvious play and go with something pretty stupid.
Well, I thought for sure Indiana was going to try to cram it down our throat once again. They've been doing a pretty good job of it all night, and again, I want to issue credit to the Indiana center and their 2 tackles, who I thought are pretty doggone good offensive linemen. But on this final play, this is just a simple snap and throw quickly out to the edge. And the wide receiver is going to make a press move to try to get a little bit of separation. Hill doesn't buy that, and it's obviously a press man situation. And the ball comes in there and hits him right in the chest. Hill does a good job getting his hand in. I know that kid's going to live with that drop the rest of his life, and thank God it worked out in our way, in our favor. But Hill did a nice job disrupting the pass and the receiver just enough to secure the victory.